Hi, Tam here. Today is April 1st, 2019, and have been caffeine-free for 641 days. 1 year and 9 months. For 1 year and 9 months, I haven't had any caffeine in my system. No coffee, no tea, no energy drinks, nothing, right? The reason I stopped caffeine is because I had used caffeine all my life, ever since I was a kid. Now, even as a kid, man, I was drinking Coke, which had caffeine in it, and my entire life was Coca-Cola and stuff like that. So basically, I was a caffeine addict, right? But what made me stop was that not only was I a caffeine addict, but my health was really deteriorating. Typically, I would wake up in the morning, first thing I'd do is pop a Red Bull, right? And I would take between 5 and 8 Red Bulls every single day. When I say Red Bulls, I mean that will include Rockstars, Monsters, or whatever the flavor of the month is, So energy drinks, 5 to 8 every day, as a standard consumption. And on hard days, I could go to 10. And what made me stop is that the week before I decided to stop, I remember taking 11 Red Bulls. I was doing a night shift in a very busy ER, and I pulled a 24-hour shift, actually, meaning I worked the entire night from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then I carried on from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. again. A 24-hour shift in the ER. That was monstrous, But I went through it taking a lot of energy drinks, And, the week before I decided to stop, that week was very difficult for me because I needed caffeine. I needed to have a certain amount of caffeine in my system at all times, right? And the more you take caffeine, the more you need caffeine because, you start with a small amount, maybe 30 milligrams, and very soon you're not getting the same kick with that 30 milligrams a day, so you have to move to 60 milligrams a day, then 80 milligrams a day, 100, 200, and, it goes on and on and on. And I remember by the end, I was able to function in hospital, but a good description of it is that I was feeling as if I was sinking in a bottomless hole. Yeah, that's a good definition of it. I was sinking in a bottomless hole. So I will take I will drink caffeine just to survive. And when you work for 24 hours non-stop, it's very difficult to stay awake. So I will stay awake, pumping myself up with caffeine, but I think I would be desensitized so much that I would not fall asleep. But at the same time, I would feel like I was sinking in a bottomless hole. I was forever sinking, right? And it's a terrible feeling. I don't know. This is the best description I can think of. If some of you have ever been taking caffeine or coffee, like cups and cups and cups to survive the day because you're so exhausted, you are awake, but you're feeling really drained. And it's a terrible feeling, And that day when I took 11 Red Bulls in 24 hours, right? In 24 hours. Well, it's not even in 24 hours. It's 11 Red Bulls in 12 hours, really, Yeah, I was taking 11 Red Bulls in a 12-hour period. Right? Basically, a Red Bull every hour, Because you're feeling so exhausted and you're pushing yourself to carry on with taking Red Bull and Red Bulls and Red Bulls. And again, I'm saying Red Bulls. It was mostly Red Bulls. Sometimes it will be Rockstars. Sometimes it will be Monsters, But and now when it's time to sleep, so it's maybe midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So 1 o'clock in the morning you go to bed, but you can't sleep. And the reason I couldn't sleep is because I've had so much caffeine during the day that I can't sleep. I'm exhausted, but I just can't sleep because I don't have enough caffeine in my system. And now I'm really feeling like I'm sinking into a bottomless hole even more. So just to balance my mind, just to create some kind of equilibrium in my head, I will take a Red Bull or Rockstar, Monster, whatever. I will take an energy drink just to get to sleep. And that for me, I thought, no, that's too much. That's tragic. So in May 2017, I had enough and I told myself, you know what? I need to stop this. And I just cold turkey stopped taking caffeine completely. And the first week was extremely, extremely difficult. Sorry, I'm moving around because I'm on a ship. And the sea is kind of, it's choppy waters today. So yeah. So the first week was extremely difficult, And then after that, that was it. 641 days later, I haven't had any caffeine in my system. Still, my sleeping pattern, my sleeping pattern changed a little bit, right? In my high school years, I used to sleep 3 hours a day, and I was fresh in the morning. And it was just the way it was. I'd sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning every day. And 5 o'clock in the morning, I was awake and I was feeling great. And there was no point for me sleeping at midnight because then I'd be up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I'll start my day at 3 o'clock. So it's just the way it was. People were talking about, you need to sleep 8 hours a day. But for me, it's just the way my body was. There's nothing I could do about that. 3 hours was enough. And then during my medical school years, in my 20s, I was sleeping 4 hours and a half a day, right? So my sleeping cycle was 90 minutes. I calculated it to be 90 minutes when I was, I think, my first year of medical school. And then 90 minutes times 3, so that was 4 hours and a half. So, my full sleeping cycle was 4 hours and a half, and that was more than enough for me. After 4 hours and a half, I just wake up naturally, And I never really needed an alarm clock, and even today, I don't need an alarm clock, Now, bearing in mind that I've always been on caffeine during my high school years and my medical school years, whether it's some Coca-Cola or, Coca-Cola mostly, But now, in the 641 days that I've been caffeine-free, I have noticed that I'm still good with 4 hours and a half a day, but for the first time in my life now, sometimes I sleep more than 4 hours and a half a day. I now wake up sometimes after 5 hours, sometimes after 6 hours, and that's something that's new in my life. It had never happened before, Normally, if I would sleep at midnight and I would wake up at 4:30. But now, for the first time in my life, I noticed that I would sleep at midnight and I would wake up at 5 o'clock, at 5:30. Sometimes even at 6 o'clock, Not often, but sometimes, So yeah, my sleeping time has increased from 4 hours and a half to 5 hours, between 5 and 6 hours. And I think obviously it has something to do with the fact that I'm not taking caffeine anymore. Something I've noticed, So that was the first year, especially. Now, after 365 days, let's say after 400 days roughly, I've noticed that, I can cut down on my sleep again. and with no alarm clock, I tend to wake up after about 5 hours. Which means that my cycle has increased from 90 minutes per cycle to maybe 90 minutes plus 10 minutes per cycle. Only good things will come to your life when you're caffeine free, you know? I'm feeling excellent, I'm feeling great, I feel very calm, I feel very relaxed all the time. Anyway, that's my story. Cheers.